Hey everyone, welcome back to the Board Game Spotlight. Today we're going to look at Dragon Boats of the Four Seas. This is from Maple Games. This is their first game. It is for 2 to 4 players and it plays in about 45 minutes. So let's take it to the table and I'm going to tell you about it. So today we have set up a 2-player game of Dragon Boats of the Four Seas, and the first thing I want to note is that this is all prototype components, so nothing is final, and in fact we are missing the 3D dragon boats that these boat toppers are going to sit on. So just keep in mind that everything you see in this video is in prototype form. Additionally, in a 2 or 3 player game, you're going to play with these dummy markers. Now, the only purpose these serve is to tighten up the market stalls and the race for the different tiles. So what is Dragon Boats of the Four Seas? Well, the game is a resource management set collection bidding game. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to have 3 of these bidding markers. The bidding mechanism is what the game is all about. You're going to bid your markers on these market stalls to gain resources. You're going to use those resources to enter the mountain passes or place meeples on the boats, but essentially everything revolves around this bidding system. At the beginning of the game, you're going to place your 4th bidding marker on one of the rounds. This serves 2 purposes. The first purpose is that you're going to gain the listed resources as your starting resources for the game. And then when you enter that round, you're going to gain your 4th bidding marker. The earlier you place your marker, you won't get as many resources, but you will get your bidding marker earlier in the game. So this is the trade-off, and this is a decision that players are going to have to make before the game starts. So at the beginning of each round, there is a bidding phase, and this is when we're going to alternate turns, placing our markers out on the different locations to bid for the turn order of taking those actions. So essentially what happens is the player who is at the top is going to pay the most amount of resources, but they're also going to get the first action. So in this instance, I would have to pay 3 money because I was the 3rd marker on this location. So I would pay $3 and I could take my choice of one of these tiles. Now these are offering tiles. These are going to be used to enter the various different boats so that we can move our meeples onto the different islands. Here the blue player would pay 2 and they could take a tile. This would just count as 1 and we could take our offering tile and so on and so forth. Now, during this phase, as players are activating and resolving the different areas of the market stall, you can also use the resources that you've collected to place your meeples on the board. So if I wanted to enter this boat is going to cost 2 resources. However, the middle space is always going to have a price reduction. So I could pay just one of these resources to place my meeple on the middle space of that track. Additionally, you could pay any 3 resources from your hand, and you could place one of your meeples on the mountain pass. So as players resolve each of these locations, gaining resources, they're going to have the opportunity to place their meeples on the board. Now let's talk about what this 5th space does, because this is really interesting. You can actually take both of these actions here. This is turn 1 offering tile into another offering tile drawn from the bag here, and you get a food card. We'll talk about food in a minute. Or you can use a power to draw a bonus card. These bonus cards have a variety of different uses. Sometimes they're going to give you more sets for your set collection. Other times they're going to be one of actions that you can discard this to use, or sometimes they're going to be permanent abilities. So you just have to keep in mind what's out there in the market, what bonus cards are available, and there are some bonus cards in there that are going to let you move meeples around the boats or around the islands, so there is some take that inside of the game. So after we finished the payment and resolution phase of the different market stalls, we're going to move into the exploration phase. Now this is where you get to move your meeples around the board and try to gain tiles and also area control of the different islands. So the first thing we're going to do is move on the mountain passes. Your meeples get a base movement of 3, but remember we talked about these food cards. Food cards can be discarded to allow your meeple to move a 4th step. Now anytime you move over one of these resource icons, you're going to gain that. So if we moved 1, 2, 3, we would then have the opportunity to move a 4th by discarding one of our food cards, and we could move in and take this tile. Now the mountain pass tiles are all tiles that are going to aid you in scoring points at the end of the game. So these are end of game victory point tiles. After you've moved in the mountain phase, you're going to go into the dragon boats. this is when the dragon boats are going to leave and they're going to go to the different islands. You'll notice there are dotted lines from each port to 2 of the different islands. The boats are going to leave in order of beats per minute. So here we have 68 and then a 64, we have a 62, and then a 60 beats per minute. So let's just talk about this boat real quick. So the boats have 3 different locations for your meeples. Again, we talked about the price reduction in the middle. The player at the front is going to get off the boat first, but the player in the back is actually going to choose which island that boat sails to. So here we could sail here. This is going to move off, and again, you get base movement of 3, but you're trying to get your meeples in an adjacent areas. So the more meeples you have adjacent, the more points you're going to score. But additionally, you definitely want to make sure that you're gaining the resource tiles that are going to allow you to score the most points from them. You're going to move around, and one thing to note too is that you have to have the minimum requirement of meeples in a boat for it to move. So it costs 2 meeples for this boat to leave. We only have 1, which means that boat is going to stay. We would move to the next one, and this player could then embark and disembark here and gain these resource tiles. You're going to go around until each of the boats has activated and moved. After you finish your exploration phase, you're going to go into your cleanup phase. This is the storage phase. Each player can store 3 offering tiles in their tableau. You're then going to move the marker, the round marker, up 1, and this dragon boat is going to get more colorful the more rounds you play. And then if a player had their bid marker on the round marker, they're going to gain that and they can use it for that next round. You're going to pass the first player marker to the next player. You would refill your market stalls with up to 3 offering tiles, and then you're going to play out the next round of the game. Now, dragon boats last 6 rounds. At the end of the 6th round, all boats are going to depart. So you definitely want to keep that in mind as you're playing the 4th, 5th, and the final round, that you want to get as many meeples into your boats as possible. You're also going to get new dragon boats or boat toppers for your dragon boats for any boats that have departed, and you're going to move into the next round. So Dragon Boats of the Four Seas revolves around this really elegant and interesting bidding mechanism. It's simple, it's intuitive, but there's layers of strategy with trying to outbid or get into a stall location earlier, or trying to be the first one at that location and forcing your opponents to place markers on each of those stalls. You have to play a marker on your turn. So it really becomes this dance of who's going to be able to take the first action, where and when. And so this bidding mechanism makes the game a lot of fun. On top of that, you have your resource collection. At the end of the game, you're going to score victory points for having your meeples adjacent to one another. You're going to score victory points for having different tiles of the different types of resources. You may also have one of these in-game victory point tiles, which are going to give you victory points for that specific type of resource. If Dragon Boats of the Four Seas looks like a game that's for you, if you want to know more about the game, take a look at the description below for a link to their Kickstarter campaign. This has been Derek with the Board Game Spotlight, and this has been your preview of Dragon Boats of the Four Seas.